Hi guys, and welcome to another video. Today I wanted to start up my Let's Test series on my new channel. It's something I did on my old channel and it was received well. Usually when you get a review video, that product has been tested in many different ways, but it hasn't been shown on camera. The Let's Test series is me allowing you to see my thoughts on the product as and when I test it. Today I'm testing two new products of mine. The first is the Winsor & Newton brush markers and the second is the Ohuhu Sketchbook. As far as the Winsor & Newton brush markers go, I have tested this before because I do have the pastel set and there's another set, I can't remember what it's called. So it's not my first time using the markers, but it is my second time trying to do an actual piece with them. In other words, I am still a beginner when it comes to markers and I'm still learning about how they apply and the best papers to use them on. The Ohuhu Sketchbook has been designed specifically for use with markers and dry medium. Therefore, the first things I'll be testing in the sketchbook are not only markers but also pencils and coloured pencils and pastels, because I found a set of them in my home, although I'm not a pastel user, so who knows how that artwork will turn out. To begin with, I did some swatches at the back of the sketchbook just to see how the marker applies. What you'll see is that whether I apply with the coloured markers or with the grey tone markers, the flat colour applies evenly as long as I put on two layers. I also try to blend the colours and the blending is okay. It's certainly better than other paper that claims to be made for markers. Given that this paper tries to be bleed proof, it does make sense that the marker doesn't feather as much on the paper, and the more the marker feathers, the more it's going to blend. This paper is somewhere in the middle of, for example, using photocopier paper, which will naturally feather a lot and therefore have great blending ability, and bleed proof paper, which has next to no feathering, which therefore means it doesn't blend very well. This paper is somewhere in the middle, which I think makes it one of the better marker papers out there. At least that's my opinion so far. Before I went in with the markers, I did decide to ink the illustration and I used the Promarker fine liners to do this. My hands have been incredibly shaky lately because they are in pain. That's why I found my inks weren't that stable throughout this drawing. Thankfully though, it doesn't look that bad on camera. In person though, I can see where I had shaken and just drifted the pen off in angles that it shouldn't have gone in, and it wouldn't have gone in if I had control over my hands like I normally would. In terms of how I coloured this illustration, I decided to work section by section, and also I began by adding in the lightest value first and then built up using the darker values. This particular drawing doesn't have many areas of shading. In other words, I haven't really been able to test out whether the markers blend well on this paper, but one thing I will say is that the colours or the values build up very well. This paper takes so many layers of marker without any problems whatsoever. I'm actually considering this paper may be good for watercolour as well, though don't quote me on that because I haven't tested it yet and it doesn't claim to be good with wet mediums. While I was working with the markers, I noticed that as I applied the darker values on top of the lighter ones, there was some feathering and therefore some blending. But again, this image is not perfect for testing out blending, so I will save my opinion on whether blending is good on this paper or not for a future video. But so far, I am liking the way that the markers apply on the paper. You'll see that as I work section by section, I try and add in all the lightest values and all the darkest values that I possibly can. That way, once the inks dry down, I won't have to go back in with a second layer too much. And I prefer that because I don't want to waste all that precious, expensive ink. So in the end, what you won't see, because I did it off camera, is that I did go back into the image once the markers were dry, with a second layer, only on the face though, because I felt like the face really melted into the background and I wanted to bring it forward just a little bit, especially the eye. The conclusion for this Let's Test therefore is that the paper takes a lot of ink with no problems, and I love that about the paper. It also does feather a little bit, so there is some blending, but again that will be tested in a future video. Inks, as in the Promarker pens, naturally apply very well on this paper, as you would expect with a smooth paper like this. There is bleeding, by the way, but only very minimal. Given how many layers I added in, I expected there to be so much more bleeding, but there wasn't. By the way, the sketchbook comes with this plastic sheet which you can put underneath your paper to prevent any bleeding, and there was only a tiny bit of ink that went on it. For this Let's Test, therefore, I can say that so far I am loving this paper, and I hope to continue doing a lot more artwork on it, to continue testing it, and I hope I end up loving it, because I'm rooting for it to be a great product. For me, if it can equal the Sea White sketchbook, then it will become one of my all-time favorite sketchbooks, but that is yet to be seen, so please look forward to those videos. That's it for this video. If you have the Ohuhu Sketchbook, let me know what you think about it below, because I would love to read it. And also let me know what mediums you would like me to test out in the sketchbook, as I will try and do that for you. And that's it for this video. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time.